Hi, Andrea Nordling here with the Profitable Nutritionist doing an Ask Me Anything. Question was, what is inside your museum of failures in business? Let's talk about the fails. This is a fun question to answer because I got to go back through the treasure trove of memories of things that haven't worked well in my business that were big failures, but that I learned from. So I either didn't make the same mistake again, or I knew, okay, that didn't work. I'm going to do it differently in the future. And ultimately, those failures stack up into huge successes. So I'm happy to talk about the failures. This is just a very quick list of things that came to mind. I'm sure there are dozens and dozens more. And maybe the next time I answer this question, I'll come back and do it with another round. But here's what I have in my notes that came up. One thing in my museum of failures is doing an entire webinar that had no video and no sound. That was awful. So embarrassing, especially because this was a webinar for someone else's audience. So this other person had promoted me. This was when I was running my holistic nutrition business, and I was doing a webinar about adrenal fatigue. And for this very specific niche of people, for someone else's audience, she had promoted the heck out of this training that I was going to do. And she had hundreds of people that were registered for it. I was super nervous, but I'm like, okay, I'm doing it. It's like one of the first webinars I ever did. And there was no sound. There was no video. There was no sound. Nobody could hear anything, but they were furiously typing in the chat, what is going wrong? It was worst case scenario. It was terrible. So embarrassing. So first of all, I learned that I didn't die when the tech didn't work, and nothing worked the way it was supposed to. It was so embarrassing. I didn't die. So that was great. And I committed that I would never have that situation happen again. So I learned a lot about testing your tech in advance, having a backup plan, honestly, and just kind of being kind to myself when things don't work out. That was really the first big example I have of an epic fail of like, wow, that did not go as planned. I didn't die. I learned from it. And I also realized that sometimes that's going to happen and it's part of it. We don't not do things because that worst case scenario might happen. When the worst case scenario happens, you realize, okay, we did that. That's as bad as it's going to get. Let's just keep going. Now I've done probably hundreds of webinars by this point and luckily have not had that problem again. But if I did, I know I could handle it and move on. Okay. So that's definitely in the Museum of Failures. Here's the next thing I have on my list. I revamped a profitable membership into a low priced evergreen offer. So I had this offer that was working. And then I revamped it into this low price, no brainer evergreen offer that was $19 a month. And it only sold 5 people. Okay. So it was like this genius plan of, I'm going to take what's working and I'm just going to make it as a passive thing I can sell on my website for cheap. It'll be such a no brainer for people. I'll do that. Famous last words. So I learned a lot about offer switching and how we confuse our people when we are constantly changing our offer, first of all. Second of all, the big red flag of a no-brainer offer. There's no such thing as a no-brainer offer. And actually it is so much more, it takes such a higher level of skill to sell cheap things than it does to sell expensive things. So the cheaper it is, the more our brain is like, oh, it's like the Walmart end cap. People will just grab it as they go by. They won't even think about it. Well, first of all, are those the clients that we want? Second of all, that does not happen. And third of all, the pursuit of that really is not in alignment for most of us and what we really want, which is people that get massive transformation. Do people get massive transformation in general from something that costs $19 a month? No. So let's just be honest with ourselves about that. I had to be very honest with myself about that. It completely changed my philosophy about structuring offers in my business, charging premium pricing, the sales process. We've learned a lot about sales psychology from that failed no-brainer membership experience. And if you're in the Profitable Nutritionist program or in the Streamline and Scale Mastermind, you get to benefit. And if you're watching this video, I guess you get to benefit from everything that I learned from that because it didn't go well. And I've definitely changed my strategy there. So the strategy I now teach is to have a big red flag go off in your brain if you ever think this will be a no-brainer for people. Probably not. All right. Third Museum of Failures. Let's talk about big launches that bring in 0 new clients and putting months of effort into a huge promotion, what I call a launch, and not bringing in any sales from it. Yes, I have been there. I have done it. I've had a lot of really successful launches, like really, really successful 6-figure launches that lots of that has happened. And also sometimes it doesn't. And there have been more than one occasion where I have had a lot of effort put into a launch, did not get the results that were anticipated. It wasted a lot of my time, I'll get back to that, of my time and my team's time to not get the results that we thought that we would get. Now, was it really wasted? No, because we learn a lot from these experiences, all of the failures, all of the bad stuff we learn from. So what I have learned over the course of having launches not go the way that I plan on them going, and what I recommend to all of my students, and I would recommend it obviously to you as well, is not to rely on big launches long term. Okay. Things can break, things cannot work, and then you don't have the results that you want and you're scrambling until the next time that you have planned to launch. So having a more consistent sales process, honestly, more at bats, especially if your business is in the beginning stages. Don't ever look at a business that's further along like mine is, where we do have big quarterly launches, and think, well, that's what works. That's what we have to do. No. Sell all the time. You need more at bats. You need more practice selling, and just don't rely on those launches, because sometimes the tech breaks. Sometimes things don't work the way that you think that they're going to. And you don't want that to be reliant on that feast or famine. Like, this has to go well because it's the only time we're selling. Don't set your business up like that. Learn from my mistake there. So along with that, let's talk about what happens when the tech breaks or when a big promotion or a launch isn't working. What I have learned is that it can be one of two things. It's a traffic issue, meaning people aren't seeing the offer. They're not seeing the promotion. They're not seeing the emails. You just didn't get enough interest in the first place. They have no idea what's going on. There aren't enough eyeballs. People don't know what's happening. Or a conversion issue, meaning people do know what's happening. People are seeing it. People are seeing your promotion. They're seeing the offer. They're clicking around and they're not buying. So those are two different problems to solve. You really need to know, in any of these situations, you need to know, what is the problem that we're solving here? Is there not enough people seeing it, or are they seeing it and they're not converting? So yeah, basically, is the tech working or not? Is the messaging working or not? And are my expectations working or not? That might be the better lesson there. Oh, how do I know having a launch totally failed? All right, my last museum of failures that I had taken in my notes here that I wanted to share was doing an in-person nutrition class in the early days of my nutrition business, where I actually was hosting this class. It was a 5-week class in the office of a naturopath. So I'm in someone else's business. This naturopath has been promoting my class to his customer base and client base. I am a guest hosting the class. I was so nervous about this. Okay. I was so nervous, as we are. We have a plan. Wouldn't it be great if somebody hosted a class of mine and promoted it to their audience and filled the class, and I just had to show up and get paid? Well, great, right? That would be amazing. That was the plan. And then it happened, and I was still so nervous. It's like, I know that this is what I wanted to have happen, but on some level I was like, oh, but did it really have to happen? Because now I'm so nervous. So nervous, in fact, that I knocked over a huge display in his office, like an absolute psycho. I was probably shaking. Who even knows? I made a huge mess. And then I just couldn't bounce back. Like, I was so rattled. I was just a disaster the entire in-person class. Here's what I learned. First of all, to chill out. To just chill out. And second of all, kind of going back to my first lesson that I talked about, it's like, I didn't die. If I embarrass myself, I won't die. I will learn from it, and I won't die, and you won't either. So honestly, that has really gotten me far in business, to know I can feel the feelings that I don't want to feel. I don't want to be humiliated. I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't want to feel like an amateur, and I don't want to do any of that. Of course, but also I can, and I won't die. And if that's what it takes to, continue achieving my goals and be in pursuit of my dreams, then maybe that's the discomfort that I just have to feel so that I don't do it again. So maybe that is something you need to hear too. Discomfort is the currency of our dreams. I don't know who famously said that, but somebody did, and it's definitely the truth. So you might have to feel embarrassed or rejected or like an amateur or unprepared. Ew, that one is the worst to me, but you might need to feel those things and realize you don't die. I have done it many times. Borrow from that. So that's my museum of failures. Part one. I'm sure that I'll add to that quite a bit over time.